Rosalyn Kahn.
Hi, this is Anna Saki-Rutano. My name is Rosalyn Kahn with Chow Entertainment. Now, I understand you're running for judge.
Yes.
And what inspired you way back long ago to take the role that you decided you wanted to become a judge?
We have a need for diversity of background and experience. Historically, only prosecutors and, a handful of corporate attorneys have become judges, and we need people who have been working to create solutions for the indigent, that have been working with, the low income. I'm a public defender. I'm representing people who cannot afford attorneys. We need that experience on the bench because we are the people that are finding the solutions. We know the problems. We know why people are in the court system and how to fix it. And, especially with all the new reforms and where the laws are still heading, it's time to hire people that are familiar with, not even just alternatives, but other things besides putting people away.
Right.
And, I'm the one who's I'm finding mental health care for my clients. I'm getting them social workers. Sometimes I'm having to get them social workers to help them just to get the identification they need to get the insurance that will pay for the health care, that will pay for the rehab.
Right.
I know all the barriers that the low income are facing, and I know how to address it so that they don't come back into court. So that when their case is done, they do not come back. They do not recidivate. It's important. And I think we need that perspective on the bench. It's
really important. Well, it's great to see a person like you running for it. My battery's running kind of low, so
okay.
I gotta keep this short.
I feel like it's a moral imperative for more people to try to give an actual choice to voters. That's why I'm running.
No, that's a really important lesson. And was there one particular thing in your childhood that made you decide that you wanted to be a judge?
I've always wanted to be involved in public service, and this is, I love trial work. I love helping people. There's nothing better than getting a not guilty for a missing client. And I can't, there were several things that built up to me becoming a lawyer, but the law is where I want to be. I think the law is, my goal is to address inequity and foster real change. So
right.
I think that what we're doing, sorry, it's distracting.
So anyhow, so my name is Rosalyn Kahn. It's Chow Entertainment, Living Your Best Life. And it's been a pleasure and honor to speak with you. And I hope that I can talk to you again sometime. And you can see me every Tuesday at 11 a.m. And how can people follow you on kAHN TV?
You can go to my website, www.reitanoforjudge.com. So REITANO. You can also follow the Defenders of Justice 2022.com, which is the slate. I'm running alongside two other public defenders and a civil rights attorney, and we're all trying to work together to offer a choice to voters.
Fantastic. That sounds wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Again, my name is Rosalyn Kahn. It's every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Chow Entertainment, kAHN TV. Thank you so much. Gratitude beyond words, and namaste.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rosalyn Kahn. I'm with Chow Entertainment, Living Your Best Life. I'm here tonight with this wonderful person who's going to be running for the sheriff. Could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Robert Luna, recently retired police chief from the city of Long Beach.
So tell me, what is the one reason that you decided that you wanted to run for this position as a sheriff?
Because I care. I love LA County. It's where I was born, and I want to serve here and I want to make a difference.
Right. When you think of all the things that you had in your childhood and all the things that happened to you, what is the one reason that being a sheriff is going to change the trajectory of what's happening in our city?
So as a child growing up in unincorporated East Los Angeles, I remember being that kid looking through the fence at the deputies wearing the uniforms. And as a kid, I was enamored by that uniform. And I thought if I could ever wear one, that would change not only my life, but the life of my family. And that, for me, moving forward, that's what inspired me to be a police officer. Eventually I did it for Long Beach, but now I'm coming full circle. And I want to go back, and it's that same feeling I have as a child, where I want to make a difference. I want to be that person that changes people's lives all over the county, but specifically in neighborhoods like the one I grew up in.
Oh, that's fantastic. And if you could just tell us your name and how people could follow you, that'd be awesome.
Robert Luna, and I'm at Luna 4 FOR Sherriff .com.
Thank you so much. Gratitude beyond words. Namaste. Thank you.
Matt Rodriguez.
Matt Rodriguez. Now, you saw these people out there on the platform, and everybody gets a different set of questions. So, what separates you from the rest of the people who are up on that stage?
Well, you know, we were all career lawmen. We've all been doing this for 30 plus years. We are all people of color, either Hispanic or black. But, you know, I've created a policy of respect that I think has never been seen before in law enforcement. On day one in office, I plan to implement the policy of respect, where we treat everybody on every contact, from the sheriff on down to the newest employee, with respect, meaning we treat them responsibly, ethically, sensibly, professionally, empathetically, civilly, and transparently. I have a long career both in law enforcement and public safety in multiple government agencies, and that record is one of cooperation, respect, dignity for all people that I work with and that I serve.
Respect is really what it's all about. Now, this is kind of a tough question. I know in your career in law enforcement, you've seen a lot of horrible incidents. If there was one thing that you saw in your career of something that happened in the time that you were in the force, or some public outcry, that you just shook your head and you just went home and you said, why is this happening?
Well, I think that would have to be back in 1992 when we had the Rodney King riots, you know, and I got to see firsthand the trauma that occurred at the hands of law enforcement, you know, and the whole city was burning down, and it just didn't go on for one day. It went on for 3 weeks. And I was asking myself that question: how did this happen? Why did this happen? And then here we fast forward to 2020 and we see the George Floyd tragedy, and I'm asking myself, why did law enforcement go backwards, and why have we not progressed with all the technology in the world and all the things going on with humanity? Why has law enforcement gone backwards, back to, you know, brutality and negativity and distrust from the community? So I have a lot of work to do to bridge those gaps.
Right, and I always like to go back to people's childhood, because I think childhood tells a lot about who we are and what we're all about. When you were a young kid, what was your attitude to people who were in law enforcement?
I grew up in a law enforcement family, so obviously I respected law enforcement, but I agree with you that things happen in childhood. I mean, I've had many incidences in law enforcement that have stuck with me, tragedies, rapidly evolving, dynamic, stressful situations, and I know you talked about overcoming obstacles. I'm the only candidate that you're ever going to see that admitted that, hey, I've had to overcome obstacles, I've overcome anxiety, I've overcome depression, I've had to fight those sorts of things in my career. It's not something that people talk about because of the stigmas, but I powered through it and got the work and got the help that I needed to be who I am today. And what I think is when you go through those types of experiences, then you're real empathetic towards others who especially are dealing with that situation as well. So I've come with a pretty unique background, very transparent and very honest about who I am.
You know, you talk about obstacles. As a young kid, I grew up with a disease called scoliosis. And the one thing, scoliosis is curvature of the spine.
Yes.
And if you saw me kind of rubbing my back while I was standing up there, kind of leaning up against the wall, I've got back pain because I have a rod in my back. But the one big lesson it taught me was empathy for other people. To really have a sense of understanding of what's going on and what's happening out there. Now, if there was one thing that you didn't get to say to the people on the stage, and you always get back to your seat and like, you know, this is what I wanted to say, I wish I could have said this, what would be the words that you want to say that you missed saying up on that platform?
Well, this was an interesting, actually, forum, because it was, you know, he was very clear in the rules. I want you to be Black-centric or African-American-centric. So what I wanted to say was my campaign started in the African-American community. Every Monday I have a Zoom call with 15 to 20 African-Americans that are supporting me. I have 2 nieces that are half Black and a nephew that's half Black. And one of my nieces actually called me during my campaign because she was watching my social media and said, hey, Uncle, I didn't know you had so many Black friends. And I said, well, you know what? There's a lot of things you don't know about me. but I have the ultimate respect for the Black community and all communities. A lot of support in the Asian community, Armenians and Latino communities as well. So I just want people to know that I serve everybody with dignity and respect. It doesn't matter where you come from. I have the ultimate respect for the community, respect for law enforcement, and respect for our rule of law.
Wow. And if people wanted to follow you, how would they follow you in your campaign?
I have a website as well as rodriguezforsheriff.com, F-O-R, sheriff.com. And also we have Instagram, we have Facebook and Twitter. So people can go up there, read all about me. I've worked really hard at putting my platform out and being very transparent. And I look forward to people's votes. The ballots have hit the houses now. The last day to vote will be June 7th. And I really encourage everyone to do their homework, research the candidate, and ideally vote for Matt Rodriguez for Sheriff 2022.
Gratitude beyond words. My name is Rosalyn and I thank you so very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Alrighty. I want to know, what does your family say about your job, putting your life out on the line each and every day?
Well, I've been a cop for 36 years, so my family my children have never known me to be in any other profession. Unfortunately, I'm divorced, but my wife's a nurse, and we're still very good friends. Both my parents have passed away. I told you my parents were born before 1920, so they were older. But my mother, quite frankly, didn't want me to be in law enforcement because I had a degree as far back as 1980, and she's, culturally African Americans, blacks, kind of shied away from law enforcement. And I actually applied to be LAPD, the sheriff, and in colonial insurance. So being a cop wasn't my lifelong gig, but my family's learned to live with the fact that I'm in law enforcement, and they know that I really, really enjoy it.
What made you decide to enter the law enforcement? Was it something what did you want to do when you were a child, young?
Yeah.
What was your first ambition?
I think I just mentioned, I applied for LAPD, the sheriff, and then colonial life, but actually I went to Humboldt State and I wanted to be a wildlife manager. I wanted to be a forest ranger, and so after I realized I wasn't going to get a job doing that, I got a degree in sociology and came down to Los Angeles, and I was a lifeguard, and I put myself through college as being a lifeguard, so I worked with law enforcement, and so I just fell into it. I'm a first generation law enforcement person in my family.
What's really interesting is I also got a sociology degree. My father always said, "What are you going to do with your sociology degree, Rosalyn?" I lined him up and told him. So how does that background in sociology help you in what you do today?
Really helped me understand people, right? Understand human behavior based upon, societal, how they were raised, their environment. There's experiments like the whole jail experiment, the Stanford experiment with the custodial facilities. You see that manifested in our county. Our county jail system is 23,000 beds. So understanding people's environment, understanding why they're behaving the way they're behaving, I think that's tremendous force multiplier for me as a law enforcement officer.
Right. And if there is one incident you had in your whole career that left a mark on you that you will never ever forget, what would be that one story that you would share?
Going to the funeral of a 3-year-old who was killed with her father by a single bullet by a gang member who was retaliating. This young man happened to be walking down the street, going to visit his mother, her grandmother, and a retaliatory shooting occurred. A single round penetrated his head and hit her in the head and killed them both with that one bullet. Going to that funeral really tore a piece of my soul.
And so what makes you decide that you want to be running for sheriff today that you haven't already said? If you haven't already said, there's one thing you didn't get to say up on that stage. What was the one thing you left out telling us? Because we always think about, we sit down in our seat and we say, oh, I forgot to say that. What would it have been?
Well, besides the fact that I'm the most qualified candidate, the Sheriff's Department is unique in that it also has custody. So when you have 23,000 jail beds and people that are going to be in your custody for a period of time, it's a unique opportunity to really change people's lives. And in many instances, I plan to treat them better than they've even treated themselves, and making sure they're a better product when they come back out to the community, because they're going to come back out. So that's really one of my overarching goals, is to make sure I put a better product out to the street that came in to my custodial facility. So that's really one of the reasons that in addition to the other ones, that I want to be the sheriff of LA County.
Sounds like a great plan. And how might people follow you, Mr. Rambo?
My website is Rambo for Sheriff, RHAMBOFOR Sheriff.com. That's a real last name. I'm an orphan adopted from South Korea, and my parents were living in Compton. And so if you have any other, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook. Rambo for Sheriff, vote Rambo for Sheriff.
Thank you. Gratitude beyond words. Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you for your interest in Inflight USA and our newest publication, BizAvJets USA. We serve general and business aviation throughout the U.S. For more information on submitting articles or advertising in our publications, visit inflightUSA.com. Thank you.
BizAvJets USA magazine is a new publication to the business aviation industry. And business aviation is a growing and thriving industry. We plan to bring you all the latest trends and news. We also plan to bring you new information about new airframes, systems, and interiors to market. Feel free to visit bizavjetsusa.com.
For 40 years, Playhouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Playhouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at playhousecfl.org.
Okay. Number 3. And don't think that Reverend James wasn't that way when we were growing up. He was the same. Incumbent, describe how you would approach your first 100 days in your next term if you were to be elected. And the second part of that same question, how would you improve the relationships with the Board of Supervisors and others with whom you have appeared to be at odds during your first term? Oh, not that one. He's missing. Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't be sorry.
Sounds
Excellent
good.
question.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So first 100 days, I'm your sheriff. I come in. The first thing I'm going to do is apologize to a whole lot of people. We have fractured relationships across the board, whether it is with our African American community, our Latino communities, all of our communities. We have fractured relationships with the Board of Supervisors, with other government agencies, people that we should be collaborating with. So the first thing I'm going to come in, I'm going to ask for meetings, face-to-face meetings, in groups just like we're sitting here in front of today. And I'm going to listen. And I'm going to find out what is it that we as the Sheriff's Department have not been doing. What do we need to accomplish? How do we get to the vision that we have for a safe community and get the things that we need done collectively as partners, working together? That absolutely has to be done. I'm going to put a transition team, because I am the only candidate from outside the Sheriff's Department. So I'm going to put a transition team that includes leaders, law enforcement leaders from not only inside the Sheriff's Department, from around this country that I've already been talking to. And they know that we have challenges here in the Sheriff's Department. We have challenges here in the LA County community. You're going to be part of it. We need your input. We need your input on policy. We need to know how to change things to make life good for all of us. Thank you.
First 100 days, we have to restore some decorum, professionalism, dignity, and respect back to the office of sheriff. This particular sheriff has eroded all public trust. There are zero relationships with the Board of Supervisors, oversight commissions, inspector generals. These are all relationships that need to be repaired. Secondly, we have to lift morale in the Sheriff's Department. Right now, we have 1,500 Sheriff's Department members that are off on long-term disabilities. They're looking for every excuse to retire, every excuse to not come to work. The Sheriff's Department is actually going to be dismantled under the sheriff, and we need to get the morale back up. We need to get people, again, to start enforcing the law. And I'm not interested in filling the jails with people of color, blacks or Hispanics. but we need to break the cycles of violence. The reality of it is the people in communities of color are suffering the most. They're the ones being killed. We have 100% increases in violent crime and homicides, and who's doing it and who's going to jail. It's always the African Americans and the Latinos, and I'll talk to anybody until I'm blue in the face about that. We need to get into the community and create the programming to stop the cycles of violence in our communities of color. Thank you.
Is hard, but I think a judge can be accountable when they are actually a part of the community, because they understand the community and they understand that the decisions that they make is affecting the community and affecting the people that are coming into their courtroom. So if you're in an isolated place, then you're not effective. You have to be involved in your community, and I'm involved in my community. My community is on 78th and Broadway in South Central Los Angeles, and we have a good ministry reaching out to everybody in the community. We do college fairs, we do backpack drives, we give out clothing, we do all that because those people in South Central Los Angeles, when they walk into that courtroom, I hope they see me. Not that they may think they're gonna get a break, but they're gonna think, okay, we know she's right. We know she's gonna be fair, she's gonna be impartial, we know she's gonna show some compassion where it's needed, those types of things. So I believe a judge needs to be accountable to themselves. It's very difficult for the community to do that.
Hey, are you looking to get blinged out? Well, look no further. Boss Lady Bling Blingy have all the bling you need. You can find us online at Lady Blingy 4 on IG or Lady Blingy on Facebook or www.bossladyblingblingy here in sunny San Diego at 2031 Commercial Street, San Diego, California. Call us at 619-617-4586.
My grandmother had Alzheimer's, and I remember we were all in the hospital room, and for like 10 seconds she recognized who we were, and then it was gone. So it's like a thief. It's taking away memories and who you are as a person. Over 5.5 million Americans have Alzheimer's. That number may double by 2050. For more information, visit rightfocus.org.
Senior Care Authority is a one-stop solution for helping you locate senior living options.
We understand the care, the costs, and the safety records of hundreds of communities, from assisted living and memory care to independent living and even skilled nursing. We help families cut through the complexity to make courageous, informed decisions under difficult circumstances.
Good morning, this is Dave D. Smith. I'm with Banner Printing Company. We're a printing brokerage. We provide books, letterheads, envelopes, laser checks, accounts payable or payroll, and we provide promotional products, things like jackets, shirts with your logo on it, signs for the sides of trucks, and banners of any kind.
They are guilty until they prove themselves to be innocent. That is not American jurisprudence at all. And so, what y'all don't necessarily have to answer this question, because I know we got to move on, but I want to put it on your mind, is it is vitally important that it be understood that when black folks come into the courtroom, whether or not they wax eloquent, whether or not you have the tendency not to understand their urban language, it doesn't mean that they're lying. And so what we need is judges who will listen to people who come from different places in life and stations in life and understand that just because someone is able to wax eloquent and speaks the King's English does not mean that that person is telling the truth. And so I just wanted to say that.
Can I ask you? You can. I want to talk about critical race theory. And I'm probably going to lose the election just in this opinion alone, but it's okay. In critical race theory, there's a concept called structural determinism. And what that concept means is that the U.S. system of laws is structured in such a way that white permanence is going to be the case, right? And so there's a concept called the different, and what that concept means is that the system can oppress people and then deny them the language to express their oppression, okay? And critical race theory challenges that. And that's where I think judges play a vital role, because we are a part of that structure, right? When people come into our courtrooms, we can provide language to the oppressed. We can connect with them in a way that maintains their human dignity, right? And that's why one of my strongest platforms is community collaboration. I don't think judges are the be-it-all, know-it-all. We have to get the community involved so that the system is able to speak the language of those who are currently oppressed. And right now, it does not. So critical race theory is a big deal. I think it should be impressed. I got my mama in advocacy over there, Jeanette Ellis-Royson, shaking her head because it matters. And we have to start giving language to the oppressed.
This is going to be really quick, but there were a bunch of operations through LAPD Vice in the Valley. And I went to trial when I first went to San Fernando felonies in 2019 on one of these cases. And it was clearly targeted at black folks. Clearly, I mean, it was entrapment. I ended up having to take it to trial, and I got not guilty in under an hour because the jury saw it too, because I was able to help them see it. For some reason, the DA and the judge didn't want to see it. Cut to a couple years later, we have another one of those cases, and Liz and I got to work together on a Racial Justice Act motion for the same exact charges, the same officers, different operation, but the same exact facts, and it was also entrapment. And we filed a motion, and the judge almost said, we had all these statistics showing that statistically it was, they were targeting black men. And the judge tried to make the claim, but what if it's just black men doing this? Even though we had all the numbers, we had the facts, you need judges that understand the nuances, that are willing to see different angles, and I think it's important on the bench.
Nurse Access Staffing is seeking experienced RN and LVNs. For more information, call us at 818-697-4484 or check us out on our website, nurseaccessstaffing.com.